Welcome to I Still Call It a Lariat. We are a pro wrestling podcast. We are the greatest pro wrestling podcast that's being recorded right at this moment. With me, as always, Mr. Showtime Michael Wright. My name is stevezapf. We're coming right at you. Mr. Showtime, how you doing? Welcome back today, sir.
Oh, you know me, Steven. I'm living the dream.
You got to, sir. You got to. Real quick, because we got a lot of wrestling stuff to go over today. I'm going to get right into it. Talk about our nonprofit organization that we are supporting. Obviously, it is Tap Cancer Out. Information for this will be in our description below, as well as all of our social media accounts. Tap Cancer Out helps out with Alex's Lemonade Stand, American Brain Tumor Association, Isabella Santos Foundation, Little Pink Houses of Hope, Camp Sunshine, Christopher's Haven, the Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins, CureCervicalCancer.org, First Descent, and of course Tom Coughlin's J Fund.
J Fund.
J Fund. Real quick, I want to throw a shout out to the guys over at Coal Mine. Thank you, Mr. Brock, for coming in as a guest for our SummerSlam 92 review episode. As always, Coal Mine, I Still Call It a Lariat. We're like family members now. They're kind of like our special brothers that we don't talk about too often. And then I also want to throw a little bit of love over to our friend Jim Molyneux. We haven't talked about it enough, but everyone should be going to check out over at teepublic.com/extreme-referee for his t-shirts and stuff like that. Honestly, these are really cool. I'm still waiting on mine to arrive, so we will probably be repping them in the next few episodes soon. But as always, Jim Molyneux, a close friend to me, close friend to the show, and you guys should listen to that episode too, because a lot of really great stories being told by Jim in that one. Oh, but with that said, let's get right into the wrestling news. Showtime, what are you thinking?
You won't do it.
I'm gonna do it.
You won't do it.
All right, first thing we got on here. Anna Jay wins her debut match in Japan for the Stardom promotion. This is very much Tony Khan doing pretty much what Triple H has been doing lately and letting his stars go over there. Obviously, Stardom is the one that has the most connection to New Japan, which means obviously they have the most connection to Tony Khan, as to where Triple H has been letting his guys go over to some of their other Japanese promotions, the Noahs and things like that. I really like the idea of this happening too for some of these wrestlers with AEW. I think a big knock that even wrestlers have had on AEW is they're just not getting enough reps in. And this is a good way for them to get experience and maybe come back to AEW and shine just a little brighter. And I think that's a great thing for them.
So essentially, Stephen, when it comes to the Japanese game, so WWE seems to be aligning with, is it Marigold?
Marigold is the female promotion. It was, so I believe the president of Marigold was at one point one of the presidents, or like the executive vice president of Stardom. Sorry about that, folks. But was the was involved with Stardom and left and started Marigold. I know there's some stuff about, I forget if it's for Marigold or if it's for Stardom, but I know there's some other shady things that people have talked about. I know Kenny Omega has brought it up. I know Asuka has brought it up. It's one of those where I don't know too much about it, and I don't want to delve too much into it on a subject that neither one of us know too much about. But it seems like, yes, as far as female promotions in Japan, Marigold is the one that's being more associated with the WWE. Stardom is more associated with New Japan. I believe they're actually like their sister promotion type of thing. So
essentially the federations, or whatever you want to call them, the organizations are joining up in stables. It's stable warfare.
It is stable warfare at a promotion level. It's kind of like the houses of Harry Potter. It's not.
Oh, I know.
It's not. Although most of the real stables in Japan are very much like the houses of Harry Potter.
That I'll buy. It's promotions.
So it's very cool concept. Again, we kind of keep saying it, and I heard someone else say it the other day, and I attribute it to them listening to us and stealing stuff from you specifically. But
Obviously.
the rising tide lifts all ships. Heard someone say it on Busted Open, and I equate it to the fact that we said it first. Specifically, you said it first. I will give you your flowers on that one.
I'm always right.
Always right. With all of that, we also have someone who is honestly becoming a legend in this business, and that's Scott D'Amore, and he is starting a new promotion. Maple Leaf restarting. I did listen to an interview about this, and this was a really cool thing that he kind of did. He a couple years ago, more than anything, was kind of bored, he said, and went around like finding all the old tape library for the original Maple Leaf Wrestling, and is now kind of giving it that old school feel, but also bringing in a lot of kind of the new school style of wrestling that he was doing in TNA. Obviously, we are huge fans of TNA and just what they do wrestling wise. So if he's going to bring that wrestling to this Maple Leaf Wrestling, I think that would be amazing, and I think it would be a good chance to maybe put a Canadian promotion on the map. I know you had said that before we...
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier today. There is an opportunity. I mean, Canada's such a hotbed for wrestling, and they don't really have a big promotion of their own. I know they have some smaller ones up there, and maybe I'm wrong. Any of our Canadian listeners, tell me how wrong I am that, this one promotion that you never heard of is incredibly big, because that's going to happen. And but I could see Maple Leaf.
Well, let us know either way.
Yeah, please tell us. But I could see Maple Leaf taking this space and kind of being like a Canadian TNA to a certain degree, at least in the beginning. And I think TNA should watch out too. I know they got this really good working relationship with WWE, where the WWE seems to be taking their top talent. But I know that a lot of their top talent really like Scott. They wanted him back. And when somebody starts their own promotion, and like in any job that you have, people work for, like when they quit or they work for people, less for companies, right? And in this situation, the person everyone liked to work with has a new job. There's probably a good chance that a couple of those guys might defect and go over there when their contracts are up. So I would have a little bit of warning up if I was TNA. But at the same time, they're doing some really good stuff with the WWE, which they have to watch out because the WWE will pick your pocket as well.
This could also be a situation where, I know we said that WWE has this working relationship with TNA. This could be a situation where AEW starts a working relationship with Scott D'Amore, because I know Tony and D'Amore had a working relationship when he was with TNA. So you never know.
He's got to get established first. I think that's the big thing. Like he needs to start having people there that people actually want to see. Let's see kind of where that goes to begin with before we start putting working relationships in place. I just said the other way around, is like he's going to be looking for talent, regardless of where he gets it from. That's going to happen. The first thing you do is, who's the talent that I could build out this around? He has the chops to put something that has, that has TV capabilities, because he's already done it in the past. And with the proper funding, he could probably get to a point where he gets the TNA level pretty quickly, given that he kind of knows how to build it from the ground up. So looking forward to it. I hope he has some really cool people coming in there. Like, let's bring in give me like Lance Storm as like the commissioner, and
I could see that. That would be awesome.
Right? That'd be cool. So let's kind of see, like, get somebody real Canadian up there.
Real Canadian.
Like someone who used to wear Canadian tights in America. Like, it's perfect. So we'll see. We'll see how it all kind of shakes out. I'm excited. I'll keep my eyes open on it. Go from there.
Also, I was reading an article, and this has been kind of a bigger deal. This is something that we constantly bring up, and I'm glad that she has brought it up. And that's
about time she spoke up for herself.
That Bayley addressed being snubbed on posters and things to that effect. And
Constantly.
according to her, the kind of the way she put it was, and she's right. She's doing as much as she can do with what they're giving her. I am not bashing Bayley's work whatsoever. I think she's doing everything in her power currently to provide the best product she is able to provide. And she kind of was just like, well, after a while, you ask enough of times about it and you realize you're almost being ignored, that you just stop asking.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see where that is. And I could also see where that's very frustrating, especially as you're a Royal Rumble winner. You're a WrestleMania, you won the women's title at WrestleMania and they do nothing with you. It
It
seemed
just
like
doesn't make any damn sense, to be honest with you. It really doesn't.
This
don't
was an
push her
8-month
if you don't want to push her.
Exactly. This seemed like 8 months of her being basically a transitional champion. I realized she didn't hold the title the whole time, but like it seemed like she was just holding it until they could get Nia over there and eventually really get it to Tiffany.
They could have had Nia win the Royal Rumble. It wasn't even. It's not even that. They gave her the Cody treatment in the ring, but then not in the promotions. And maybe they just don't think she's a draw, which I find that hard to believe. And I think she is, so that's not my opinion. But it didn't make sense. It's like talking out of both sides of your mouth. Let's push her to the moon, but then not promote her at all. It never made any sense. I think there's a few things that WWE, there's a couple holes in WWE's armor that I think are starting to show pretty hard right now.
Things like
tag
this.
Team division.
The tag team
division is garbage right now. The women's division right now is pretty
questionable,
suspect, except for a couple stars. It's weird. On Raw, we'll get into Raw, but there's only 9 minutes of women's wrestling on Raw, and it was a DQ finish tag match. And without Rhea and Liv, on Raw, who is the real
there is no
talents there? And there's the talented wrestlers. Don't get me wrong; it's not how I meant it, but they're all just lumped together in a bunch of a big old nothing burger there. And then even on SmackDown, there's a limited number of people there as well that kind of come out. There's more but it's really what Bayley, Nia, and Tiff, and then a bunch of other people kind of being lumped together. And I don't even know what they're doing with Bianca and Jade. And man, wouldn't they be nice to add to any of these rosters to make this division competitive?
We'll get more into the Bianca and Jade stuff later. I just feel like they're stuck together now for the sake of being stuck together.
Let's break them up. If you're not going to do what you were doing with them,
then get rid of them
and hurry up to the end. I didn't want them to rush the end, but now that you're doing nothing, I'd rather do that than do nothing.
Exactly. And like you said, the women
do less. Now you're just not doing anything.
Like you said, the women's division just seems off. It's not as strong as it was. And don't get me wrong, we're waiting on the Charlotte Flairs to return. We're waiting to see if Becky is ever going to come back, things like that. But you can't wait on things like that usually.
They have people that can fill that gap. What's going on with Maxine Dupree? What's going on with Shayna Baszler? What's going on with all these people that if you give them the push and actually make them legit winners? I know Dakota Kai got hurt, but she Io Sky is just floating around in a trios thing. What are we doing nothing here? Former champion, she could get into that spot. So they have the talent. They're just doing nothing with it. And this is where I think in one area AEW really outperforms them here. Because the women's division and AEW.
Natalya. When was the last time you saw Natalya?
Oh, she's all. I don't know. She's mostly in NXT. So, and I don't particularly watch NXT.
But even still, she hasn't even been there.
They re-signed her, so she's still here. Was that just a protection signing?
She's just been sitting at home in Tampa with TJ.
Do you in fact put Baby in the corner? Is that what happened with her?
They put Baby in the corner. So moving on from one second generation wrestler, I guess a third generation wrestler at this point, to another second generation wrestler, Jacob Henry, Mark Henry's son, just signed an NIL deal with WWE. Now, for those of you who are wondering, Jacob has commented on this. He is not going to college. He's going to college. He signed his letter of intent to go to Oklahoma. He is actually still on the fence on whether or not he's going to be a two-sport athlete in Oklahoma. He is a heavyweight wrestler, and he is also on their football, or he's a football player as well. So it's kind of a matter of which one he just enjoys doing more. So much like his famous, legendary Hall of Fame father, he also excels at several sports at this point. And I've heard some interviews from him. He has a lot of personality about him. I think this is a great deal, and this is one of those things where having this safety net almost is a really nice thing for him, because it will let him focus both on his sports and his academics, and maybe be able to do something a little bit more than just one or the other. And who knows, maybe in 3.5 years, we're talking about Jacob Henry going to the Olympics for America instead of just going to the WWE, and he'll probably do more because NXT also just recently lost another All-American. I know it's not on there, but Bobby Stevenson, who is Gable Stevenson's brother, he wrestled as Damon Kemp. His contract officially expired as well, which means that WWE kind of just wasted away both Stevenson's brothers. They did.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised on this one because he seemed to be doing well down there.
He seemed to be doing well. I think this
is
was
a little late. I think this happened like 2 weeks ago.
I think his contract just expired a couple days ago. But they were already phasing him out. Gable Stevenson has been gone for a few months now. I believe he's trying to go to the NFL. Did
he get signed by the Bills or something like that?
I think the Bills. I think he's with the Bills. But it's still one of those things where I think that at least with Gable, it seemed like it was an experiment that just didn't work out. But
yeah, he didn't transition into it. I get all that. Like, it's not for everybody.
Whereas
it's hard to break it. This is a hard business to be in.
Damon really seemed like he had the personality for it. Maybe it's just because he wasn't technically as big. I mean, physically as big as his brother was. Maybe it just wasn't sitting as well. Maybe things just weren't going as well. Who knows what the situation was backstage. Maybe he just decided, since his brother wasn't there, he didn't want to be there either, so they decided not to sign. We don't know the backstage politics on that one. But signing a Division I athlete in Jacob Henry is pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So Showtime, those were kind of cool, fun things to talk about. We're going to talk about something a little serious right now. And unfortunately, on August 9th, 2024, a wrestling legend passed away, and that's Kevin Sullivan. He died at the age of 74. This is a big deal. This seems like this is one more in that old school fraternity of wrestlers that really kind of made up our childhood a little bit. I know that a lot of people our age kind of only remember Kevin Sullivan in that, or the ones that are a little younger than us at least only really remember Sullivan as that mid-90s Taskmaster gimmick that he did with the opposite Hulk Hogan. And it was very cartoony, but it was the stuff they were doing with that was also their version of trying to do a big production version of what he had been doing in the past. Kevin Sullivan, things that some people don't realize, he was a very, very accomplished amateur wrestler. And when he debuted in the early 70s, he actually debuted without ever having any professional training, which is shocking given the world that we live in, because normally that would be very, very frowned upon. But he was so good as an amateur that they brought him in to be a professional. Also, he's one of those guys that, I know we talk about this sometimes, that has that larger than life aura around him, because he was a 5'9" wrestler. And he put on matches with Andre the Giant and believably beat on the Giant sometimes. So sometimes what your character is and how you're portrayed is very much more important than your actual size. And he was a huge proponent of that. He debuted in the early 70s. I said his best run that most people know him for started in 1982, and that was in Championship Wrestling from Florida. That was when he would form the Occult Army of Darkness, and he was a cult leader feuding with guys like Dusty Rhodes and Barry Windham, which that was where you really got the first taste of him with Nancy, who would go on to become known as Woman, who unfortunately, has also passed away due to the stuff with the Chris Benoit stuff, which we don't like touching on. So, but there is that. It is what it is. But this was a big time for him. He feuded feuding with Dusty Rhodes in Florida. That was like feuding with Hulk Hogan in New York at the time. And he really did. He went on a big run there. 1982 to 1987. That's a big run back in the territory days where you're there for a good couple years and really, really building up a product like that. He ended up moving on to Jim Crockett Promotions in 1987. So that's the precursor to WCW or Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, whichever one you want to call it. And he formed the Varsity Club. And the original incarnation with the Varsity Club is with Mike Rotunda and Rick Steiner. Remember that we said that he's with Mike Rotunda here because it definitely holds true with some of the stuff I'm going to talk about with him later. But he had a lot of good feuds, again, feuding with Dusty, which feuding with Dusty Rhodes in the 1980s is a massive, massive accomplishment. That means that you draw money, baby. That's what I'm saying. He drew money. He did the name of the. All right, the name of the business is wrestling. The name of the business is actually drawing money. It's drawing money. If you read between the lines, NWA actually meant draw me money. That's what it said. And he did. This was a time when both promotions, the NWA and the WWF, were both drawing money and money and money. And this was the height of wrestling. 1987 was the height of pro wrestling, a higher point than it had ever been seen before, at least. And I mean, obviously it kept going up and up, but this was the real start of seeing things like WrestleMania 3 and things like that. He also feuded with the Road Warriors, eventually feuding with Rick Steiner and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, going after Eddie Gilbert's wife, Missy Hyatt, at one point. A lot of this stuff these were subjects that they weren't touched on back then that often, and Kevin Sullivan was willing to be the guy that tried out some of this stuff.
Yeah, the term ahead of his time, I feel like sometimes is overused, and maybe not even used in the right way, or just kind of thrown around. Kevin Sullivan was ahead of his time. Like, he had done stuff that we see later on that inspire other people that work kind of now and that didn't technically work back then. The kind of fractured mind kind of person, the cult leader, the just being a badass to begin with, and then kind of transitioning into it. He was one of the most over heels that were out in those promotions. He was something special when it came to it. And I think a lot of people who listen to this, particularly if you're younger than the two of us, he had so much impact on like the early WCW days as a booker. It was like he wrote all those storylines that I remember from high school.
Exactly. I actually have that written down as well. He's behind the scenes. He's thought of as a bit of a booking genius. I know I've been on shows with Kevin, or I had been on shows with Kevin, and one of the things that he really, really held true was he was in charge of, if you're Showtime in my age, you will remember that WCW almost always started Nitro off with a cruiserweight match.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because he wanted to set a tone of excitement right off the bat. And it really, I mean, that's something that he is credited with. I'm a big believer, kind of how you said he was ahead of his time. If we didn't have the Kevin Sullivan character work that he did, we'd never have gotten Undertaker or Kane. And more specifically, and again, Mike Rotunda, we would never have gotten the Wyatts, because Bray was the new generation of Kevin Sullivan. And you have to figure, with his relationship with Mike, he had to sit there and we say sitting at the learning tree all the time because it's a popular term now. But we're not talking about Jericho in this.
It's Jericho. It always comes back to Jericho.
It always comes back to Jericho.
And he booked Jericho back in the day. Maybe that's where he got it from.
That Jericho learned it from
Kevin Sullivan.
That's not what happened at all.
It could be. You don't know. You weren't there.
But you have to figure some of this stuff that Bray did and now Bo Dallas is doing, I'm positive that they were learning it from kind of Kevin directly, probably. I'm sure there were points where I wouldn't have been surprised if Bray sat down and really talked with Kevin and was like, hey, like, if you had the budget that I do now, like, what kind of stuff would you have done? Mm-hmm. Like, what would have, like, do you think that this would work if it's done right? And like, I could see him again. It's a smart person to pick the brain of a legend. And I think everyone should always take that opportunity. And I feel like Kevin Sullivan was a legend and a genius in this business. And we are sad by his passing. We wish the best to his family, his friends, anyone who knew him. And there we go. I'm not completely positive that, given his gimmick, that he's in heaven, but wherever he's at, they got a main eventer right now, and he might be taking over at this point. So goodbye, Kevin Sullivan. Thank you for the memories, as always. But we are going to move on from that to some more fun stuff. We're going to get back to wrestling, more of the modern wrestling, if you will. And current day wrestling. And we're going to talk about TNA this week in Impact. A lot of cool stuff happened on Impact. I know we constantly say it. Once again, TNA Impact actually, I think, had the best wrestling match of the week.
Everyone has won I feel like it has the top match of the week every time. Like, the whole card isn't the best card of the time. And I don't want to mislead that, but you'll get the best match.
You know what, man? There were a couple of good matches on this card. There were a couple of good segments on this show. I like that we talked about this before the show. One of the big things was Mike Bailey, the current X Division champion, put himself into one of the qualifiers to get into the Ultimate X match at the next pay-per-view, kind of cementing himself as a fighting champion. And he even went around to other former X Division champions, trying to make sure that they are also going into qualifiers, because he wants to prove that he's so good that he is the best. So he's beaten former X Division champions. He doesn't want to just rest on his laurels. And I respect that. I think that's a cool gimmick that they've got him doing.
Yeah, I dig a good fighting champion here. And that's what he's doing. Not just going to wait for contenders to show up. He wants to earn his own spot in there. And so I always kind of dig that. He's bringing a layer of competitiveness and prestige to the X Division title, which I think will elevate it a bit. I think the whole talent pool in TNA has been elevating dramatically, particularly given the time that they've started working with the WWE. Not to say that it's all WWE's influence, but I feel like everybody around is starting to elevate their game to be a bit more similar to the talent you see in NXT. So I like kind of what they're doing here, and I dig Mike Bailey's swagger. Keep it up, boy.
Another cool thing. Jonathan Gresham comes out this week looking completely normal. No mask, no ink, and says he has no memory of the last couple weeks or anything that has been going on. and goes out and puts on a technical masterpiece with Kushida. This was the match of the week. This is the one I'm talking about. Guys, if you are listening to this show, go watch Impact from this past week. Go watch, if you have access to Axis. I don't want to say that too many times fast.
Yeah.
Or access to the TNA app. Please go watch this match. This match was really, really good. They went out there and they went hold for hold. They traded side headlocks. They did Kushida. I think it was Gresham did this step over toe hold, but then locked it into a side figure four. It was really cool how he did it, and never had the other leg locked, and could tell you still had him locked, and then just stood up and did a bridge. It was really cool how he did it. Again, amazing wrestling. Amazing, which it doesn't surprise me. They ended up having Kushida go over in this match, but the match itself was really cool, and it was kind of nice to see Gresham back to normal Gresham stuff, although I'd like to see Gresham put the mask back on, and I like the ink and stuff like that.
What do you think is going to happen here? Do you think that they just didn't think that was working and they're writing it off and in the most subtle way possible?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think so.
I remember it means it didn't happen.
I don't think so. I think this is going to be part of a further storyline where almost like a schizophrenic type thing for him, which I like that better than them just writing it off. I think the storyline with him being the octopus was way cooler than him just not remembering anything. Because
the thing, it just hasn't gone anywhere. Like, this kind of storyline needs a push for it to be taken seriously, and they really haven't pushed it. He's actually lost to a few people. Maybe they're just trying to retool it a little bit and build what you're kind of saying here. I hope they don't abandon it, but at the same time, they need to take it seriously for it to work. Otherwise, it's just a goofy gimmick.
I mean, in all honesty, once they kind of clear up a little bit more on what's going down at higher up in the card, have them go after Nick Nemeth. Have them go after the world title. And I think it would work. Like, I realize he hasn't done anything like that, but that's one of those gimmicks that he could do it real quickly and no one would question anything about it. We get.
I actually would love to see him hit Nick's brother. His first name is escaping me right now.
Ryan
Nemeth. Get Ryan with the ink, and then have him on the side, and have Ryan help beat up Nick. Maybe not drop the belt to Gresham. I don't think it's time to drop the belt to Gresham with all the other people who are kind of floating around that. But it could be kind of fun to kind of see that little feud kind of percolate up.
I could definitely see that. That would be awesome too. Like you said, I think they've slowly been kind of almost working towards getting Ryan on there against Nick a little bit. Like, I'd like to see that a little bit more.
I feel like they'll build it eventually. Have Ryan go heel.
We also get more of a build for Matt Cardona versus PCO. They did. Basically, PCO missing his wedding night with Steph DeLander because Matt Cardona and a couple thugs have jumped him, and he leaves them saying, "Don't touch my property." I guess meaning Steph DeLander, because they're supposed to be friends and teammates, and they have bookings and stuff like that. And we get a match set for next week, and that's Nick Nemeth and Josh Alexander. So the longest reigning TNA champion in history, Impact TNA, whatever you want to call it, in Josh Alexander versus the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and someone who we think the world of in Nick Nemeth. I think this is going to be an awesome match. I think this is the start of the program. I believe the next pay-per-view is called Emergence. I believe that they're going to get the match. There's not going to be a clear winner, and we'll get Nick Nemeth versus Josh Alexander at Emergence for a real blow-off of the match. I'm hoping that whatever they're doing with Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth, whatever you want to call him, this is not a transition thing. I at least I hope not.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, in the main event, say his name and
We believe.
he appears. We believe in Joe Hendry. He has a match against Wolfgang from NXT, and man, is Joe Hendry over.
Mm-hmm.
This match was really good. I've also been noticing something about Hendry lately, and that's that he's getting into better shape.
He's slimming down.
He's
I
starting
noticed
to look
it.
trimmed up. I noticed it this week. He does, and it's not just that he's shaving his hair into abs. So
One
not
of the
that we've ever seen
unwritten rules of wrestling. That's how you
not
get
that
abs.
we've ever seen anyone do that before. So then we get Joe Hendry. Not only is he over as a crowd favorite, but he also goes over in the main event. Again, TNA once again providing a great wrestling product this week. I'm going to keep saying it, guys. Go watch TNA. If you're not watching TNA, I don't know why, because they are putting on a really great product.
And it's the easiest one to fit into your time for your time.
Seriously, if you are doing it, especially if you're doing it on like the TNA app, it's an hour and a half after all the commercials and everything.
Once a week. It's so doable, so manageable,
and you get real wrestling. This is a real wrestling program. Well, with that said, to one of the other wrestling programs, we're going to talk about AEW, and AEW did a lot this week. A lot.
Yeah, the show doc is intense. There's so many things.
So many things. So this week, Dynamite opened with MJF versus Kyle Fletcher. This was a follow-up from last week's stuff with their storyline and his storyline with MJF. This was a really good match overall. MJF did a lot of cool heel stuff in this, and left Kyle Fletcher lying and kind of hit him with. I kind of left him injured by the end of it, with Don Callis finally looking at Will Ospreay saying, you're not going to, and everyone kind of saying it, you keep saying you're not going to hit the Tiger Driver. You're telling me that this guy doesn't deserve it. So this was a nice build to what they've kind of been doing with MJF and Will Ospreay. I didn't like that this was a title eliminator again. I'm tired of title eliminators, especially when the challenger doesn't win.
I don't mind them in moderation. Once in a blue moon, and when the storyline asks for it, I'm in. Give me number one contender matches.
Just give me number one contender matches.
If you beat the champion, you should be champion. You don't need to beat the champion to be able to beat the champion. So I want to like them way more than I do, but I don't. They're dumb. Just give me number one contendership matches. Just fight people for the title. Fine.
Especially, that's the thing, is the champion always wins. So if the champion's always going to win anyway, just make it a title match.
But if the champion loses, they deserve to drop the title.
Just look at what happened with Speedball Mike Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey said, if I lose during the qualifier, I don't deserve to be X Division champion.
Yeah, he's right.
That makes more sense than a goddamn eliminator.
100%. I'll defend the champion doing his own number one contendership match to keep his title over having someone try to beat the champion in order to beat the champion. It makes no sense.
We're taking crazy pills again.
Blue Steel, Ferrari, La Tigra, it's all the same look. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
MJF did hit one of the coolest moves I've seen ever, though, in this, and I know I talked to you about this earlier before the show. He did like a double underhook into a shoulder breaker, and damn, it looked good. And once again, it's MJF. I'm not real surprised by it, but very cool move. We get Next up, we get Mariah May. Are you muted?
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry.
Just making sure.
Water. What's it called? Ospreay's going to hit MJF with the Tiger Driver.
Oh, he's absolutely going to hit him with the Tiger Driver.
Definitely happen.
He's going to do it in Wembley in front of so many people, and they're all going to cheer.
This person doesn't deserve it. This person doesn't deserve it. MJF deserves everything coming to him.
He absolutely deserves it.
And I think it's great. He's doing a great job.
Next up, another cool storyline that they've been building very well over this is Mariah May gets a gift from Tony Storm. It's a picture of Tony holding her, cuddling her, and then on the back it says, "Die, Mariah, die." It turns into a brawl that lasts like 90 minutes, apparently. Like, they are apparently fighting throughout the arena the entire time, and no one can stop them. And I don't understand it. It's whatever. It's cool. This part of it was awesome, though.
I dig that. I like just let them fight. Let them tear each other to pieces.
Someone should be dead by then, though.
Meh.
And we finally get the return. I'll try to do the Tony Schiavone thing. It's Hook. It's not cool when he does it. It's not cool when I do it. Just so we're all aware.
Boo.
Hook comes out to save Shibata from the learning tree. Shibata's getting the crap kicked out of him by Jericho and Big Bill and I forget the Bad Apple. I forget what his actual name is. Brian Keith, that's his name.
No forklifts.
No forklifts were used during this match. And obviously this will be the return match between Hook and Jericho at Wembley for the FTW title. What's it stand for again, Showtime?
For the world. For everybody. It's for you. It's for me.
I mean, that's why they have to defend it at Wembley, because it's the world.
Yeah, 100%. It's wonderful. What he's done for that title is something special.
It's something, all right.
Something special.
We get right after that, we get an impromptu match. So because of travel problems with the hurricane, Orange Cassidy ends up needing 2 new tag team partners, and he says he's going to get 2 good old boys from North Carolina, and out come FTR. Orange Cassidy and FTR win this 6-man match, and then we get another brawl between the Acclaimed and FTR. And I think my big issue with this is we still haven't had any of this really explained. FTR hasn't seemed to go after the tag team titles, so it's not like they're jumping the line. So it just doesn't seem it doesn't make sense that we're just flip-flopping the Acclaimed into heels, basically.
Shh. Steven, listen, if the Acclaimed focus on the Elite, then the Young Bucks have to actually defend their title.
Yeah.
So shh. My young summer child. You don't get how it works.
I guess I don't. Apparently, the 20 years of wrestling, I don't understand how to book. I
don't understand that the Elite never have to fight matches and they never have to defend their titles. Like, they have so many titles and yet never have to defend them. Because it's silly just like this.
I haven't seen any member of the Elite have a match since Blood and Guts. And I can't tell you when I saw them have a match before Blood and Guts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I don't get it. I don't understand it. If one of our listeners or our viewers does understand it, again, our information is going to be below. Message us. Let us know. Let us know why we're wrong about this, because I'd love to hear it. I'd love to understand what.
Yeah, I'm open.
What I don't. If you can make me understand, I'll go along with it. But as of right now, I don't understand it. This week on Collision and on Dynamite, good old JR, Jim Ross, had interviews with both Swerve and Bryan Danielson, kind of highlighting the match coming up at Wembley. I want to say this in the nicest way possible. I love Jim Ross. I love JR. I think Jim Ross is the greatest play-by-play, color commentator, whatever you want to call him, in the history of wrestling. I think he's actually surpassed Gordon Soley. I think he's surpassed a lot of people. I think Jim Ross is the guy. Like, do I have a favorite commentary team? Yes, and Jim Ross might not be on it, but I'm smart enough to know that Jim Ross is still the guy that made the entirety of the Attitude Era and kind of most of the eras other than that. If you were watching NWA or WCW in the early 90s, you were listening to Jim Ross. And he just, I don't know, I think between his health issues and his age, I think it's time that, unfortunately, Jim Ross maybe does something behind the scenes more than anything else. I think he still has a wrestling mind. And I'm sure he's great with talent still, but in front of the camera, doing interviews like this, it just seems like he's almost lost mid-interview, and I hate seeing him like that. I mean it truthfully. I hate seeing someone that is so again, he's an icon, he's a legend in this business. I don't want to see him in any way that would diminish what he's done in the world, and I don't want this to be how he goes out type of thing. And the interviews themselves weren't, in all honesty, like, you didn't get much information out of them other than Danielson is going to need, the biggest takeaway was Bryan Danielson is going to need neck surgery before the end of this year, which again leads me to believe that there is a good chance Bryan Danielson is not winning this match at Wembley.
It's hard to say, because with a career on the line, that means that he can't ever wrestle again unless he's gotten that news already. I find that hard to believe, but still, it could be the moment. I just think it's kind of wasted on Swerve. I don't think he's the one that should put Danielson down for good.
No, I think there could have been other people that they did it with, and I think, I don't know. I with the amount of people that they've signed and things like that, and I don't even think you need the title for this. I mean, the title is cool, but if you were going to do it with someone, I think it would have been cooler to do with maybe an MJF or something.
Yeah, like, that's why I still think it's up in the air for Danielson, because him being in this match is his way of getting the title for the first time. And so, like, I think that matters. And I think that matters to Tony on saying that Bryan Danielson has been one of my champions. It elevates his belt. So, like, it makes a lot of sense for him to win that. And a lot of this could be, big old work. But at the same time, who knows? He definitely does have neck issues right now. And we'll kind of see how this plays out.
After the interviews, we also get Danielson beating Jeff Jarrett in no holds barred match, or all in match, whatever they were calling it. Anything goes. He hit him with that psycho knee, but like with a chair too. It was a bit much, but I get it. Like, you had to prove that you were willing to do anything. And they went to interview Jeff Jarrett afterwards, after Dynamite had went off the air, and we got a weird brawl that really kind of made no sense, other than the fact that Mariah May and Tony Storm seemed to still be fighting, but I couldn't understand Hangman Page fighting Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. We do get Hangman Page versus Jay Lethal next week on Dynamite. It still made no sense to me. And again, guys, if you know what's going on, let me know why it made sense to somebody, because I'm more than welcome to hear the opinion on why it made sense. But he didn't attack Swerve. He didn't attack Danielson. And realistically, he didn't even really attack Jeff Jarrett, who he thinks screwed him in the match with Danielson. So I'm still not seeing it here, guys. Little bit of news is we're going to get Dustin Rhodes set to challenge for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. I'm going to assume it's him and Sammy Guevara versus the Undisputed Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. So that I think that'll be an interesting match. I think this is all just kind of more proof that honestly, I don't think Dustin Rhodes really wants to retire. I think this was
Nope.
I think he's being forced into retirement a little bit. Like, hey, we're gonna not have anything for you. And even the stuff we do have for you, it's on our D program. Realistically, let's face it, that's what Ring of Honor is. It's the D program at this point.
So when his contract expires, he's not going to retire. He's going back to WWE to do some cool shit with Cody. Like, that's definitely going to happen because he comes back. It's going to elevate both of them. He's going to be so over in the WWE. They'll do something cool and do his like farewell tour, like for that last year or so.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cody gives them a goodbye match for the title.
Sure,
I can see that, and I've heard guys like Dave LaGreca say this, and I agree with this. The best match in AEW history is still Cody versus Dustin. That is one of the best matches. It's not just the best match in AEW. It's one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life. And if they were able to be allowed to do have a little bit of carte blanche in WWE this time and have their match, I think it would be even better. And especially you do it on a big pay-per-view, you do it at maybe not a Mania, but you do it at a Royal Rumble or a Survivor Series or something. I think it'd be really, really cool.
Yep.
On Collision, we get Willow issuing a mixed tag challenge with Ishii against Chris Statlander and Stokely, apparently for Wembley. I think now we're just kind of filling the card for Wembley at this point. We're kind of just throwing some matches that seem like they could be cool. I don't know if they're going to be cool. We get a 6-man tag match for the number 1 contenders for the trios title. So it is the House of Black versus the Bang Bang Gang, and it goes to a no contest. Christian ends up counting them both out. He is the special guest referee in this match. I'm going to assume that this means that we're going to get a 3-team match for the trios title at Wembley. I think that seems like where it's going to go. I honestly think that the House of Black might end up pulling it off just so that they can kind of keep Buddy Matthews there so he doesn't.
Yeah, did they just resign him?
I don't know if they re-signed him or if he was just gone I think he was just gone because of the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if his contract got extended or anything like that, but I know a lot of those guys, they're kind of just trying to keep them around as long as possible so that Triple H can't re-sign them or can't sign them back and use.
I feel like there's a lot of defense being played.
I noticed this during this match, and there's a lot of guys that are doing this move now. Why is everyone doing the back springboard cutter now? Sammy Guevara does it. Cody does it.
TNA does it a lot.
Nick Wayne did it in this match he's part of the patriarchy. I don't get it. Stop doing it. Like, if everyone's doing it, it's not cool anymore.
If everybody's special, then nobody's
special. But that was kind of AEW for this week. There was like a lot that happened with almost nothing happening at the same time. I'm trying to be nicer, guys. I really am, but like they just leave me confused a lot of the time. I like MJF. I like Will Ospreay. I like FTR. If they were doing a lot of stuff together, a lot more stuff together, I'd probably be more into it. Even like we said, there's no tag title defenses, so it's not even like AEW has a great tag division. Well, with that said, let's move across the street, as they say. We're gonna
smacketh down
to SmackDown. Before we get on to SmackDown, big announcements. A couple big announcements. Triple H announced on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, that there is going to be a women's speed championship as well. The tournament for that is going to premiere on September 4th. I believe they said it was going to be at noon on September 4th, but I forget if they said Eastern time or Pacific time. So that's going to be really cool that they're going to start doing that. I kind of like watching the speed matches. Sometimes I like just watching matches, and that's a cool way to just watch matches.
I dig that, but I would have liked to see them come out with a secondary women's title over the speed
over the speed title.
Yeah, I mean, this is cool. The speed title is cool and all, but it's not an actual secondary title. It's its own little gimmick.
It is its own little gimmick. I do agree with you on that. Another thing, a lot of people have been debating this, and I wanted to bring it up to you, Showtime, because they're saying WWE, but realistically, if you're the biggest babyface in WWE, you're kind of the biggest babyface in the world, right? Like, let's not, split hairs about this. WWE's the brand. And the debate is whether or not Cody or Roman are the biggest babyface in the WWE right now.
No, the answer is simple. It's Rhea Ripley.
See, that's what I think. Rhea will eventually be the biggest babyface in pro wrestling. I think she has the most potential to be the babyface in pro wrestling. I don't think that Roman Reigns is the biggest babyface in pro wrestling. I think he's the biggest star, which is hugely different. And he's getting cheered because he's coming back, and he's getting cheered now, but he's not a babyface. He's still kind of not a babyface.
He's not. It's definitely Cody, but I think people are kind of not souring on Cody, but they're not as excited. Cody was definitely better chasing the title than being champion. Yeah, like he's one of those guys you want to root to get it, and then once he gets it, you don't know what to kind of do with it.
Which is what I said I was worried about with him. I feel like I think one of the things that we said originally is that if he had maybe lost the title to AJ at one point, and they set that precedent where he was the guy that could have lost the title, I think there'd be more interest around him because
100%. We've already had a 4-year reign. Let's now get
and if he lost the title, then every time he went into a title match, there's this chance that he could lose the title. But like I said, I think Cody currently is the biggest babyface. I think. I
agree. I think Priest can give you a run for his money.
I think Priest. Honestly, if we keep going in an up direction with him, it could be LA Knight, but I think he's not. But it's definitely currently.
It could be
Cody.
CM Punk, except for he's a heel.
It might be Seth Rollins, honestly.
Seth Rollins, but they just wrote him off TV. He might as well not exist. Which is what I said to you originally. We found out this week that Seth is kind of written off TV rather
because
than
he's
going
not
into a clinic with Bronson Reed. But when I was watching that 11 tsunamis off the top rope, I texted Steven here and said, "Oh, looks like they just wrote off Seth." And then I got swayed and convinced that it was actually setting up a match with Bronson Reed. And then, lo and behold, here we are.
No match with Bronson Reed.
No match.
But to the SmackDown, we get an opening promo by Cody that gets interrupted by Solo. It looks like the Bloodline is going to come beat up Cody, and lo and behold, Kevin Owens comes out.
KO.
Chair in hand. Chair for both of them. They're going to protect each other. The Bloodline leaves, and Cody offers KO a title shot. I like this offer. I think this is going to be a good match. I like Kevin's response that he doesn't deserve it because he doesn't have the win-loss record for it, which I also think is cool. They then go back to talk to Nick Aldis. And I really like the interaction with Nick Aldis, too. I like Nick Aldis in general. I like him as a talent. I like him as a wrestler, obviously. But I like him in this role. He has this kind of too cool for school thing going that Adam Pearce doesn't have. Adam Pearce is a very different general manager than Nick Aldis is. Where Aldis kind of is going to do whatever's best for business in the long run. And I really like that he's doing that. But I like that by the end of it, we get Kevin Owens versus Cody at Bash at Berlin. Again, we don't have a lot of build
It's
up
gonna be
for
a dope
this,
match.
so we get a quick little 2.5 week build up for this match, and it looks like it's gonna be a nice fun fight. It's gonna
I think
turn into a fight.
You're gonna see this kind of build similar to the Randy Orton and Kevin Owens and Logan Paul build, where they're buddy. They'll be fighting the bloodline, all that good stuff. Roman Reigns might come in here and there. But then they're going to start hitting to a fever pitch. Kevin Owens is going to want to win the belt at all costs. And he's got that fiery punching up kind of mentality. So I'm pretty excited about this. That's how I kind of see this going down.
Now, do we think that KO could win this match?
I mean, he could win this match, but I don't think he will. This is not the match I would drop the belt here.
No. Not after the way they've been building
AJ.
it.
AJ was the move. Like, if you're going to have him lose to somebody, it was AJ, because he can't lose to Solo right now. Even though I have my own opinions on this, because Reigns told him that he was going to give him the keys to the kingdom. Said that. And then all of a sudden, he's no longer that. And now Roman is beating him up for no real reason whatsoever. So what's the deal? Like, what happened? I know that we say that he's not the heel or whatever, but that he's, like you said, is he the biggest baby face? Yeah, the fans are cheering him, but he's wrong. He's just doing the same manipulative things he's always been doing, so he still is a heel.
Exactly. Yeah, it just seems like it's a bit much. I don't know what they're gonna do with Solo currently. All right, so from the Cody and KO stuff, we move on. We get a number one contenders match, so to speak, between the Street Profits and A-Town Down Under. I just feel like I don't care about the tag team titles.
Ever since WrestleMania, they've completely botched the tag team titles.
The tag team divisions in general.
Yeah, like Finn and Priest were enjoyable to watch. They were great champions. They unified the belts. There's a lot of tag teams out there. They could make this compelling, and they are not. I said it earlier in the show. I think this is one of the areas that the leadership here in WWE is completely botching. I think the women's division is falling apart when it was looking really good. And the tag team division's falling apart when it was looking really good. You could have done a lot of fun stuff with A-Town Down Under and the Awesome Truth, and you just didn't do any of it. You had kind of a little bit of a comedy spot from both of them until no one cared, and then now even the Bloodline has tag team titles,
and no one cares about them.
And now we're not even defending them. Like, I understand that we have Fatu being hurt and whatnot. But at the same time, he's hurt. Yeah, come on. That boot does nothing. I can put a boot on too. Oh, I'm hurt. He sold it better than I did, though.
He sold it great.
But, yeah. But I don't know. I just, there's a lot of really good opportunity here to build these titles up. Like, even the Judgment Day going after Priest and Rhea, like, they're tag team champions. Like, shouldn't somebody else be involved in this?
So
it's next show though. Next show.
One of the other things that I don't know, maybe it's just because it's the Street Profits, and I've heard a couple of people talk about this, including your boy, Mr. Camp, if you will. Like, why is Montez Ford not on a solo run at this point? He's got a look, he's got charisma, he's got the moveset, he's exciting to watch, he cuts a good promo. I don't understand it. I think it was Matt Camp that said it. It could have been someone else, but they said that they think that both Street Profits should go heel. Like, they should break up and go their own heel directions and go after kind of like their own singles titles type of thing.
And you could easily do that by turning them heel as tag team partners together, and then get in each other's ways and split. Like
Exactly.
it
And
could
they
be
ch-
done, and that would be a good story. But they just don't have any of those.
and even like, I don't know, like the stuff with the Street Profits, with Bobby Lashley being gone now, everything that they're doing everything that they have them doing currently doesn't make sense, because you have them with BFAB, and that kind of doesn't make sense, because why wouldn't Montez Ford just be doing stuff with his wife, who is Bianca Belair? And honestly, I think that would build.
Whoa! Wait, listen. These people aren't married and doing things outside of WWE. It's
No.
not
That
like
one's openly admitted.
no. Sure, I guess because they have a WWE show that openly admits it, but no one's actually has relationships outside of this and are married and having storylines where they're dating multiple women at once.
What? Are we
What?
talking? We're not on that show yet.
Sorry, not that show yet. Sorry, my bad. I'm jumping ahead.
But like, I just don't understand anything that's happening, and this goes along with kind of the next segment. What the hell are we doing with Naomi, Jade, and Bianca at this point? What are we doing with it?
Well,
It's
the women's division's so oversaturated with amazing talent that we have to give them a whole bunch of nonsense. Oh, wait, that's not what's happening at all.
no, it's I don't understand it, and I know we had this conversation on whether or not Bianca and Jade were pulling each other to their own levels. Now it's a matter of WWE just isn't doing anything with them, and they're
Nothing.
both in.
Just have them fight each other then. If you're gonna
Yeah,
do,
just pull the trigger at this point.
we were, I think we were both in pretty much agreement that we didn't want to rush to see Jade versus Bianca, but
No,
that
because we
didn't
wanted
mean we
something
wanted
good
them
out
to
of
do
it.
nothing. And even good, like good is a relative term. I didn't really enjoy them being so dominant that you would never believe them losing the tag team titles. But the moment they lost the tag team titles, they like vanished.
There's just, I don't know, it just seems like everything involved in that nexus, if you will, not the Jericho nexus, just
Vortex.
this nexus.
It's different.
I'm sorry, the nexus of the women's tag team titles is just getting sucked into this black hole of just nothing.
Like Naomi's a great example, right? She's a really good talent that they're doing absolutely nothing with. Like she's not even feuding with Tiffany Stratton anymore at this point in time.
No, now
she's not really helping Bailey. She's just kind of like, let's send her out for saves and we'll
yeah. Let's keep having her fight Blair Davenport for what appears to be no reason. There's no reason behind it. Never got a reason. Even Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, I thought they could have been a really good tag team. I thought your idea with them sticking with some of the mysticism, and like, even if they didn't do the stuff with that you had said originally with them, like kind of having their own Frankenstein monster.
Yeah. So like, for those that hadn't listened to the show when I had called it out in the past, when they're kind of doing the witch gimmick, what I wanted to see them do was do kind of like Poison Ivy from the worst Batman movie, where they kind of enchant Braun Breaker. He becomes their mindless Bane, and he goes on just a tearing through streak. Now, I'm not upset on how they've handled Braun Breaker at all. So, like, don't get me wrong. And this is before he got drafted over to Raw. But at the same time, like, they could have done stuff like that where it doesn't get too mysticy. Mysticy, is that a word?
It is now.
Too mystic, but at the same time, like, it's just nothing. Like, it's nothing.
Well, and you could have had them be a coven of witches.
Sure.
And like done stuff like just, hey, you don't even have to have them doing magic. Just, hey, we're scary chicks and we believe this. Instead, they're just kind of Scottish, like, sex pot chicks that like come out and to scary music. Like, that's really all it is. Like, but all around, I said this to you before the show. Isla Dawn is the main example of this. realistically, the way Isla Dawn walks to the ring and the way and acts in general, I see no difference between her and Liv Morgan other than that one is Scottish and one has red hair. That's it. But their mannerisms, the way they act, they're just kind of bratty and like temptressy. That seems to be their only gimmick now, and I'm like, this isn't fun. I don't want to watch this anymore. This isn't the women's tag team titles have just been terrible. Terrible.
Oh, tag team. It's not the women's tag team titles.
It's tag teams.
It's the tag teams.
Tag team division in general. Terrible.
And there's just so much talent there. It's just disappointing. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed.
Thanks, Dad.
Everybody knows that's worse.
We get a definite U.S. title contender. Santos Escobar beats Andrade for a U.S. title shot. With Carmelo Hayes screwing Andrade, so I'm sure we'll get Carmelo Hayes and Andrade most likely at the SmackDown before Bash at Berlin, and we'll get Santos Escobar against LA Knight at Bash at Berlin. I'm going to say this when I said let's test the waters with LA Knight to see how he does as a champion. Santos Escobar was not the challenger that he was. He is not the hero that we deserve, nor is he the hero that we wanted in this case. I don't know. We needed something bigger, someone a little bit bigger.
For a company that stresses long-term booking, they put titles on people and then they seem like they have no idea what to do next.
Nothing. No idea. Like no one. Like it seems like no one sat down and was like, "Hey, this is the road we're gonna go." But
the obvious spot they messed. I think they kind of messed it all up because Kevin Owens would have been the perfect person to go up against LA Knight because I could see them both being faces but clashing. Like their personalities clash pretty hard, and that could have been some really entertaining stuff. I do like the idea of him facing Cody and getting a good friend versus friend match, but at the same time, like he can be floating around there.
I mean, realistically, if they hadn't let his contract go out and they were still doing the original Pride gimmick with him being a heel, Bobby Lashley would have been a great
100%
guy for LA Knight to have to defend this title against, especially since Bobby Lashley is a former US champion. He's held that exact belt that he's holding. And we would have gotten him, it would have cemented him as a legitimate champion.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, now we've got him going against Santos Escobar and possibly Andrade, and who knows? Maybe they'll send the rest of the LWO over from Raw. You know, whether it's Ray or the other guys or Joaquin Wilde. You know, the Latino that's not really Latino. He's Filipino, by the way. Just so you guys know. In the other tag team qualifier, we get DIY advancing over Pretty Deadly. On here, I have written, why do we care? Because...
do you know who would be fun in this division? Is Kevin Owens and Randy Orton.
That would be fun in this division.
Those two guys were doing a lot of tag work around the WrestleMania time frame, and they would have been great in this spot. And you could have found better challengers for Gunther and for Cody, in all honesty.
Well, and you could have had Owens and Orton win the title, and if you had somebody like the Street Profits or DIY go over on them cleanly, it elevates the other team as champions.
Yeah, they'd pin Kevin Owens because he's the one that always takes the pin.
Yep.
and he looked good.
Show ends with basically Roman Reigns laying waste to the entirety of the bloodline and almost getting a hold of the Ulafala. I think that's how you say it. I like what Roman's doing right now. I like a lot of the way that he's moving and acting and just doing stuff. He moves with a purpose, and he doesn't He kind of moves at his own pace even. Again, I think this is going to be cool. I can't wait to see where this keeps going with him. But so that was SmackDown. We're going to go over to Raw this past Monday night. So that would have been August 12th, 2024.
2 days ago from when this is posted.
From when this will be posted. And the show started with Rhea Ripley and Priest ambushing Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. This was a cool little segment. I know Rhea is catching a little bit of flack for using a little bit of sexual innuendo there. Honestly, we're getting a bit more of an adult show now, and I really liked. I like this. Thanks for letting us know where exactly where you are. And both of them looking dumbfounded by going, "Who's we?" And we finally get to see Priest looking like a monster because he's a big dude.
It only took him turning face when he would have made a lot of sense as a monster, as a heel.
But I mean, standing behind Liv and Dom, he looked big and scary, and I liked it. This was great. We get a nice little match afterwards with Priest and Carlito. The rest of the Judgment Day basically attack Priest, and by the end of it, Priest and Rhea are standing tall. I think that just about covers that the entire opening, like 30 minutes or so of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. I just wish they'd give Dom a little push and not make him such a pushover when it comes to fighting people.
You mean because they're going to have a match between Dom and Rhea's going to win?
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen. That's my prediction. That's what they're building towards. It's a very China-esque thing to do, is get Rhea versus Dom. Rhea goes over.
And then she's going to have to beat Dom to get a women's title match.
In an eliminator, because Dom would have already won it. From Liv. He's going to do a triple heel turn.
I actually kind of look forward to that. Let's see that one. We get some more storytelling with the Karrion Kross, Xavier Woods stuff. It seems like he's actually getting into Woods' head.
He sure is.
I heard this from, I believe Bully Ray said this, and I agree with him to a point. It might be time to either pull the trigger on Karrion Kross or pull the plug on him. And I'm saying that as his friend.
He's just kind of floating around
there. As a guy who loves him, but they're just, even this is taking too long. Like way too long. There's long-term storytelling, and then there's shitting and getting off the pot.
But right now, like, I'll tell you what, outside the main event storylines, like the storyline A, 1A, 2B, outside of those, there's not much going on. Like it's like the undercard is not booked very well.
It's not. And this could have been interesting if this was kind of sped up a little bit. And I feel like this should have, I don't know if run its course, but we should have gotten the turn already if we were going to get the turn. Outside of that, I like Karrion Kross. I love Karrion Kross, actually. I like him as a person. I like him as a talent. I liked him when he came in and attacked Drew originally. Like, if you go back and look at the original stuff when he first got re-signed, his stuff looks awesome. And even some of the ways that he was doing stuff. And then it seemed like he got put back on the back burner at one point, and he just never found his way back to the front. And it's hurtful because you have a guy that seems like he has all the tools, and you just can't find something for him.
Well, you could have him go up against LA Knight for the US title. Like, that would be kind of cool.
That would be cool. Like, if he, like, have him switch back over to SmackDown and just start ruling ass on different people there.
Everybody's starting to switch lanes now. Anyway, this is a
have them do a trade.
Post.
Yeah, the draft is fake anyway. Wrestling is real, but the draft is fake.
It's still real to me.
To get moving on, to go along with the Chad Gable storyline and American Made, American Made, American Made. We get Ivy Nile turning on Maxine Dupree.
Boo.
Showtime, I have written here, this feud is still going on.
It's which one? The
Alpha
Alpha
Academy
Academy?
versus American Made. Alpha Academy versus Chad. Just in general,
Yeah.
this is another one that they should have. They should have gotten the. Someone should have put a bullet in this, like they put a bullet in Chad.
They really haven't even paid much attention to it. Honestly, a lot of these long-term storytelling feuds kind of just fizzle out, and that's going on in the background while Chad and team
Chad
are
and the
going
White Six.
after the White Six. Like you've overlapped feuds. Like now it's too much. And Otis and team are just kind of getting forgotten. I always liked the dynamic between Ivy and Maxine. I really liked those two kind of like as they tagged up, and I liked the fact that like she could still be nice to them while being a heel on the other side, because it's like they're being more heels because they're fighting this crazy power of the Wyatt Six. It doesn't mean that she had to turn on Maxine, and Maxine's another one that, and both Ivy and Maxine are two more that could
in
be
this women's tag team
talents
division that they
that
could
like
be using.
could do something with them. I like they had them tagging up, and when Maxine was getting a little bit more aggressive in her style, I really dug that. Like, get her out there. Like, even if this happened, it's not going back now. But get Maxine a push. Like everyone was supporting her in her push. She had that great push in the Battle Royal, and then nothing.
Nothing.
On the
We already went over the fact that the women's tag team division is a mess, so I don't feel like we need to overstate this.
It's gross. There's like 4 people that they book correctly.
We get an Orton Gunther segment, which this was really good. This led to Gunther getting an RKO because he said he wasn't going to lose sight of what is going on with Randy. He loses sight of what's going on with Randy. Turns around, gets RKO'd. And then we get Drew coming out because he's basically about to tell him that he should be in the world title picture. Because he probably should be.
He should be. He's been screwed out of it numerous times.
And what happens? He gets screwed out of it.
And
everyone cheered.
Yeah, everyone cheered. And they break out the strap.
They break out the strap
match.
I think we're going to get a strap match. I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to see I could see this being, and again, I think it'd be awesome. Although I'm really hoping that they stop putting Punk in these gimmick matches, because I don't know how much more his body can take.
That's just strap. He'll be fine.
Maybe. And finally, the last thing, or one of the last things that we get is Bronson Reed has crossed the line.
It's gone too far, Bronson. Big Bronson Reed, it's gone too far.
I knew it. When this happened, I messaged Showtime and I said, Bronson Reed just crossed the line. And he never answered, and he didn't answer me back, I think because he was sulking.
It's unacceptable. There are certain things you just don't do. And hurting our truth is one of them.
So, for anyone who hasn't actually watched this segment on Raw, this was a setup to have Bronson Reed beat The Miz, and then he went to go hit The Miz with 17 tsunamis as well. And R-Truth stands in front of his friend to protect him. They pull The Miz out, and instead of hitting a normal tsunami on R-Truth, he hits a cross-body block version of it, which is also kind of just insane in general. And then hits him with at least one more tsunami.
I don't think R-Truth is going to be written off TV, but it could be poising R-Truth versus Bronson Reed later.
And then he'll get 17
Get his
tsunamis.
revenge. Yeah, probably.
Or 17 tsunamis. The main event of Raw this week was a really good wrestling match.
It was.
All around Raw.
I like all finishes. All three finishes to this match.
I really like all three finishes of this match. I like. Obviously, this is kind of the blow off. Like, we're not going to see Sammy going after the IC title much more after this. I think this is going to lead to maybe Sammy being involved with the Bloodline stuff, or Sammy being involved with Jay, and them going after the actual tag team titles.
That'd be cool.
And then maybe we could, with Sammy's help, we could actually make main event Jey Uso an actual main event player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that. I actually don't buy that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not in it. But this match was really good. I'm loving what they're doing with Braun Breaker. Yep. I love the way that they're bringing him along. I don't think they're bringing him along too quickly. I think this was the perfect time and the perfect title to put on him. I think he embodies kind of he can be the workhorse guy for them. He's got the athleticism. He's got a good pedigree as far as an athlete goes and things like that. He puts on a decent enough match to make me buy all of this. And, I mean, his spear looks pretty rough. I don't want to take that move.
He's going to be a perennial talent for a long time. He's going to be challenging for the world title constantly. He's got this IC title already. I think it actually might even be a little too early for him, but not because he can't do it, but because we're just kind of rushing to the end. But he's going to be a dominant force for years to come.
I'd like to see who goes after him next. If it probably Sheamus or somebody like that. But I saw a graphic today, and I wouldn't mind this one again because it's the one title that he hasn't held, and that's at Mania. Have Cena go after Braun Breaker.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I think that would be cool. I think that would. I saw a couple of cool graphics for Mania this year. One was obviously Roman The Rock. I think it was Jacob and somebody. Like they had some really cool stuff. I think it was Cody and Randy and like something else. Like they had a bunch of really cool ones. But I really like the idea of Cena and Braun Breaker. I thought that would be really cool. Even if Cena were to win that, I think that'd be. I don't think that's pulling too much away from Braun Breaker at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
But with that said, that's our show this week, folks. If you agree with our opinions, let us know. If you disagree with our opinions, let us know. As always, all of our emails, our social media, all of our friends of the show, their links and things to that effect. Obviously, the Tap Cancer Out nonprofit organization, all of those links will be in our description below. As Showtime likes to point out, down here. Down here. With that, Showtime, you got anything else for the Legion?
No, we just appreciate you guys and thank you for taking this journey with us and always listening and the support. So we appreciate you guys. So we'll see you next time, or we'll see you another time.
Folks, as always, we do appreciate you, and always remember, tuck your chin when you bump.